The Co-operative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department will today host a two-day summit whose aim is to improve the performance of local government. The summit, to be held in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg, will bring together local officials, traditional leaders, academics, representatives of civil society, organizations and funding institutions. Topics that will be discussed will include governance and administration, service delivery and local economic development. SABC News reporter Natasha Phiri is there for us. Let's cross over to her now. Natasha, good morning to you. Talk to us about what's happening. I believe you're also joined by the Minister.
Definitely, yeah. And of course, to our morning live viewers, bright and early morning to you guys there in the studio. We're coming to you all the way from the heart of Ekurhuleni here at the Birchwood, Conference Centre. And of course, like you've correctly cited, the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, will be hosting a first of its kind two-day local government summit. And of course, a theme for that, which is quite interesting, the district development model in action towards an ideal municipality. We know that, this summit is actually aimed at strengthening the capacity for an ethical and development state for resilient and smart communities. And this is quite interesting because it comes in a year where, government has been launching their presidential imbizos. Of course, Leanne, you would know that, myself and my colleague Busi Chumombe have been deployed to cover those presidential imbizos. 4 have happened so far across various provinces. The last one was in Gauteng. And of course, it's expected to actually touch base in the Western Cape this month. But of course, just to talk to us about the summit, we've got the Minister here and we'll be just talking to her. Minister, thank you so much for joining us on SABC News, a first of its kind local government summit. And I think the theme is quite interesting because it comes at a year where government has introduced their presidential imbizos.
Thank you very much and good morning to all the viewers. Let me just say that it is the first in our term. And it's a very important summit because, as you know, local government is the most important sphere in the country, in government, because that's where people live, that's where everything happens. And if local government works well, then it means the country is well. If local government doesn't work well, then it means there is a problem. So that's why we've gathered the leadership of the municipality at the political level, the troikas, which means the mayor, the speaker, the chief whip, and also at the administrative level. We have our MMs and CFOs, and of course, all the other stakeholders, the traditional leaders are here, some of the business, academia, because local government is everybody's business. So we are very excited that you are here. And we are going to be discussing at length about not just the challenges, but what is our roadmap towards an ideal local government. Because we must have an end goal. That's where we want to go. We want at the end to have communities, because municipalities, provinces, national exist for communities, for a better life for all. So we want to have a roadmap that takes us to where communities that we create must be communities that are sustainable, are resilient. It's communities that are prosperous, that are connected, that are climate smart, non-sexist, non-racial, peaceful. So all those things. But for them to happen, there are steps that need to be taken. And it's not only the municipalities, but it's also the whole geographical space where things have to happen. So we have to make sure that the municipality itself as an institution works well, but at the same time, what are the things that they have to concentrate on? They have to make sure that people get basic services, electricity, water, refuse removal, but they can't do that completely on their own because people need roads, schools, clinics. So that's why we are taking the district development approach, which is the whole of government approach, working together. And also we are emphasizing the local economic development, because if there is no local economic development, then it means the local people will not have jobs. They will then move out of that space to go to the metros out of desperation, not out of choice. And of course, it means the municipality will not have a revenue base from which to pay for the services. But also, it means we will not be dealing with poverty. So local economic development is critical.
Minister, just to interject there, especially speaking about your municipalities, out of 278 municipalities, you have 30 that are under administration. Will you actually look at, this issue? I mean, it's just looking at the Auditor General's reports and seeing how some municipalities are in dire financial situations. It's quite concerning.
Yes, it is concerning. But I think we must put everything into context. You'll recall that before 2000, before the wall-to-wall municipalities, the municipalities were in towns and cities, and they were servicing white people basically who lived in those spaces, who were employed. They even had job reservation for themselves, so they were employed, they were able to pay. And the mistake we did when we did the wall-to-wall, we made a wrong assumption that every municipality will be able to collect revenue for its budget. And that's not the case, because these wall-to-wall municipalities are now servicing a bigger community that is not well-to-do like the previous ones, with a lot of indigent people. So we need to review the funding model of municipalities, because they are municipalities. It doesn't matter how hard they work, they will not be able to collect the revenue. So we need to change the funding model, and that's what we are discussing in government, with Treasury, with Cabinet, that the funding model must change.
Minister, just to interject, I like what you're saying about changing the funding model. We know that service delivery happens at a local government level. Have you had discussions about, national government pumping in more money at a local government level?
That's the idea about the district development model, that the national government should be in that space doing what needs to be done there. So that we can utilize the resources that we have and have a bigger impact on the ground. And also to cut the silos, because if we work in silos, the impact is not felt across and vertically. So that's why we are changing. We don't want only to change the funding model, but we want to change the working model, so that indeed at the local space it's the whole of government approach. And that was foreseen but not done, because if you look at section 154 of the Constitution, it actually says the national and the provincial sphere must support and strengthen local government through legislation and any other means to ensure that it's able to perform its functions. So it was foreseen that local government will not be able to do what needs to be done on its own. So we're now saying, yes, let's make sure that 154 of the Constitution works.
Just to quickly rope in another question, on Sunday you had an interview, very interesting interview with my colleague Samgela Maseko. Towards the interview, you spoke about, government's 21 years of review of local governments. Just quickly delve into that, please.
Yes, as you know that we have had 21 years of this type of local government, and we feel that it's time we review what has happened, because you must always keep reviewing, improving, and so we are consulting as many people as possible, as many stakeholders as possible, to say what has been their experience in the past 21 years. What is it that they think can be done better? What is it that is working well that needs to be strengthened? And what is it that is not working well that needs to be changed? And what are their views? Because government doesn't have the monopoly of views, or the monopoly of wisdom. That's why the Freedom Charter says the people shall govern, because it means everybody must make an input. So that's what we are doing. And next year we will then publish, because we then need to say in the next 21 years, what are we going to do? What lessons have we learned in these 21 years? So you are free also to send your views to us about what you think about local government. And that's what the 21-year review is about.
Minister, thank you so much for your time. Of course, we look forward to your opening address, where you'll be addressing all attendees and delegates. And we understand that the President will also be here tomorrow to address all stakeholders. Thank you so much. We will catch up with you later on. Thank you. Well, Leanne, you've heard it there from the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. Of course, as SABC News, will be here throughout those 2 days, just covering everything to do with this summit, which is the first of its kind. And of course, I do implore our viewers to stay tuned to SABC News.